that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've never
Oh
seen
yeah,
The
he's great.
Godfather 3.
I love seeing the
Sorry, see,
people
now you've got my
do
mind working.
that. No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, I always love seeing like Kevin Smith and stuff like that show up
He's in
on
our
Screen
faction.
Junkies and all that.
He is a quirky
Um,
merc. He is.
love that guy. He's definitely one of my
I
favorite, just like
really,
people in
I
general.
really do get this like
He's
warm feeling
yeah.
from Kevin Smith. I
Hmm.
yeah,
He seems
yeah. I
very
mean,
genuine.
I ran into him once. Yeah, I met him once outside of.
Oh,
I
nice.
was just like going to the shop or something like that, and I'd parked my car, and he was coming out of. I think it was like a foot massage or something like that, and I had this moment where clearly, like, he was right in front of
Uh-huh.
my car because I was right in front of the door, so it was clear that I'd recognized him, and I had this like, yeah, just like
Hmm.
brain jigger moment, and I was just like, I'm just glad you're okay. It's like the first thing it occurred to me to say. Yeah, just
That's a
because it was
very
right
interesting
after,
thing
it
to
was like
say.
right after he had,
Oh, that's
gotten out
great.
of, having it's right after he'd been to the hospital and everything like that, and so,
Oh, that
and
that
he'd
yeah. Okay. I was just about to ask that. Was this
yeah,
before
this
or
was like
after the heart
recently
attack, right?
after that. It was enough that like I'd just been seeing him.
Hmm.
He's like, oh yeah, he's posting about being back up on his feet and sort of changing his lifestyle a bit, and being very open about the process.
Hmm.
And so then, yeah, like just like kind of happening upon him at
Hmm.
random. Yeah, just like that was what I was compelled to say, was just
Yeah.
like, I'm glad you're okay. And then, from there, I mean, it wasn't like a long exchange, but he was like, oh, thanks. Like, he was just very warm about it. And he came over and shake my hand. He was like, hey, you want to take a picture? And like,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not as
hey, I'm
famous
glad
as
you're okay
Kevin
too,
Smith,
though.
but I feel like if I were in his shoes, that would be a very humbling thing for somebody to like actually say, like, I'm glad you're okay. Like that for somebody that's like a celebrity and stuff like that. I feel like
Yeah,
they
it was
just
a
don't
weird,
get
it
that
was,
that
yeah,
often, you know?
I guess, because it was an interesting little moment. And again, it was, I mean, there are parts of you that
Hmm.
always like wish you had said something great, but yeah, like, even though it
Right.
was just like, oh, cool to meet you, like, kind of thing, and yeah, yeah,
You're my
exactly.
biggest fan.
Like, it was even, and hey, there's a fair amount of, that's a great
Um,
relation back, because there's a lot of Kevin Smith I haven't
mhm,
seen. I feel like I've seen like Clerks, and
mhm,
I've seen Dogma, and I've seen parts of Tuscan Red State, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but like, it's like
mhm,
I haven't yet seen a few of
obviously.
his essentials there. So even that was sort of one of those moments where I was like,
Yoga
yeah,
hose or something.
at some point, boy, I'll check it out. I don't know, yeah, like I
I
I
heard it's
believe it,
weird.
and something tells me, and I don't
Mhm.
weigh this very heavily when I'm choosing movies, but out of his filmography, I feel like that's one I will watch and probably be like, yeah, I can see why this isn't well regarded, even if it is. I think I'm a little soft towards like zany craziness, just because like it's always fun, even if it's not great, to see someone able to do that.
Right.
Because I feel like there aren't a lot of times where you can say you saw something truly weird,
Yeah.
for better or for worse. Because weird stuff is distinct,
The Room.
or it can be. So,
The Room is a classic
I'm very,
example of that.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Great movie.
compellingly odd. Yeah, it is.
The fact that it didn't win an award just makes me sad.
It's won the award of public, legend status. Lisa is
Yeah.
tearing all of us apart, truly.
He's crazy. My one of my friends actually has allegedly the same birthday as him because nobody actually knows how old he is. But yeah,
Oh
he's a
goodness.
crazy guy. I love that guy.
I would see, that's the thing. That's the thing
Hmm.
about this life, is I sit here and think, who is that guy when he's alone? because
Hmm.
I've met him a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, around I think he lives in LA somewhere, and so like back in
You
the
just like randomly bump into everybody, don't you?
honestly, this is, and I'm afraid of this turning into one of those like, oh yeah, LA guy seeing everybody and dropping names,
Hmm.
but these are like very sporadic, and like to see Tommy Wiseau in LA is actually you
Right.
can just pay to do that because I mean, this was back in the before times where you could go to they would do screenings every month like Rocky Horror where
Hmm.
and they wouldn't just do them in LA, but in LA, there was a pretty good chance that Tommy would show up,
Hell
and
yeah.
answer a few questions, maybe give out some merch, and then,
Hmm.
leave before everybody starts, hooting and hollering. So,
The only famous person I've actually ever met is Dog the Bounty Hunter.
no way. How did you
Yep.
meet Dog the Bounty Hunter?
He was randomly at a bail bonds near me,
Hell yeah.
and yeah,
Very
one
near
thing led
you.
to another, and I just like, yeah, I have a picture of him when I still had braces, and I was just like an ugly little kid, but
Dude,
yeah.
were you just posing, or was it like, he was putting you in cuffs or something like that?
Oh, I was definitely in cuffs. At that point, I had a warrant out for my arrest for at least 6 months.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
were you were a risky kid. I know you.
oh yeah, definitely. I was stealing all the time.
You
No,
you've
yeah, it
seen
was
a lot
really
of shit.
random. There was like a food bank outside of the bail bonds just randomly the day he showed up. And so yeah, just like grabbed a picture with him. It was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I
I
mean,
that made me really sad to hear about his wife too. That
yeah,
she that was really sad when that happened.
yeah.
Even though I don't like really know them or anything, but it's like at the same time, yeah, you guys smoke a lot of cigarettes, it looks like.
Yeah.
That shit'll kill you.
You know, I
Um,
mean, I guess I don't
mhm,
know. I guess if you're committed to smoking, you must get something out of it to counteract,
I
to
guess.
in the moment counteract what may become.
Right. It's kind of sad, but
We
that
all
was
we all
kind of our
have a
decision.
smoking, and we all have a tabletop gaming,
True. We all have our vices,
and our
but yeah.
pastimes.
Let me see. I'm gonna look at another question here. Oh, this is a good one. Um, if you could have one weapon from a show or a movie, which weapon would you wield?
Ooh, one
Personally, I
weapon.
think Stormbreaker probably. I don't know why. I just like Stormbreaker.
Stormbreaker's fun. There
Yeah.
was. I don't know if this would be my solid answer, but
Hmm.
when I was a kid, I was super duper into uh, the movie Lost in Space,
Okay.
and Matt LeBlanc had this gun that was a pistol, but then, and it was like a laser pistol, so it was extra cool because it was a sci-fi gun, and then he
Badass.
could attach this I don't know, extended barrel to the front and an extended, stock butt thing to the back, and make it a space rifle, and at the time I was all about that. So I
Did they
guess,
make some Netflix reboot of Lost in Space?
yeah, Neil Marshall did, the guy who did
Okay.
Dog Soldiers and The Descent, among other things.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I haven't seen any of it, but I've heard it's at least very visually dazzling. Um,
Yeah.
but in terms of, ooh, damn it, I had another one for the modern. Oh, I know what it is. If I could have one from specifically any movie, I think I would want McCready's flamethrower from The Thing.
Badass.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Flamethrowers are fun.
Yeah, they're tricky. It's not like an all-purpose tool,
Hmm.
but yeah, just for like that's a badass weapon with a badass character to go with it, and
Right.
if I feathered my hair more and grew out my beard, I could do that. um,
Oh, man.
see, These are great questions because then there are so many good answers, and then I just
Right.
want to
These are the kinds of questions you guys would kind of do in your live streams, I feel like.
live streams are like, yeah, one of our we do like a weekly Q&A sesh on
Mhm.
Patreon where we take, yeah, like hypotheticals and anything people want to ask. But
Yeah. You guys have fun live streams like with the questions that you come up with, like specifically during the Halloween time, like there were so many good ones. And
oh
then like
yeah,
which characters should have their own YouTube channel. That one was fun.
that was,
But
yeah,
yeah.
a lot of those are little strokes of Greg brilliance, and yeah, that was a super fun one. I'm excited. I think we're gonna, as we're recording this, I think we're gonna
Mhm.
stream a fun one tomorrow. And if
Nice.
this airs if this is in the past, then it'll be I think we're going with taglines, like favorite and least favorite taglines, or best and worst taglines. So
Okay.
that's gonna be,
Nice.
there are some lovely taglines. That's a whole, that's the thing, is like movies are great because there are so
Mhm.
many subcategories of things you can look at:
Right.
poster art or taglines on posters, you know.
Do you guys just have a huge list of like live stream topics that you could do, or do you just kind of come up with them on the fly?
Yes to both. Sort
Okay.
of like
All right.
we I think each of us, I know I keep like a little list in my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure Greg has a list somewhere. But then, you know, on occasion, I think, yeah, like for example, the one I just mentioned for tomorrow,
Right.
Greg just
Mm-hmm.
came in and was like, "I came up with a great idea," you know? And that,
I mean, sometimes it's all it takes. It's just a great idea, and then you know, all you got to do is just talk about it.
yeah, yeah, because ultimately, you know, it takes on what's fun. I think about the live
Mm-hmm.
streams that we've been able to cultivate is the topic takes on a sort of life and then kind of
Right.
warps throughout the stream as people weigh in and as new things, you
Mm-hmm.
know, kind of affect the rhythm of the show. So
Right.
yeah.
Man, I've been watching you guys for a long time. Now I'm thinking back to it, like back when Greg still called himself Ryan Wright, and when you were still
Jerry.
what'd you, Jerry? Yeah,
Ryan Wright and
man,
Jerry.
man, that was it wasn't that long ago, but still, it feels like forever ago.
This is a significant amount of time ago, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of like a checkpoint in life, and now I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
to I'm not the best with like years just because of how
Mm-hmm.
short they get when
Same.
the older you get. So
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that was a significant amount of time ago. So
Yeah.
hey, I mean, now when people say that, yeah, I can feel sort of the weight of the time. So
Right.
that's actually, that's really cool. I mean, thank you for
Mm-hmm.
not becoming repelled by our content in all this
Yeah,
time.
definitely, dude. Like you guys, Screen Junkies, a lot less Screen Junkies now, just because they literally haven't made anything in a long time. I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I was obsessed with their movie fights and stuff like that. I like whenever Greg would go on there, I would always watch it. Yeah, I always had fun watching those, but it kind of feels like they're not really gonna do those anymore. I mean, I don't know, especially with COVID, just like harder to do that kind of stuff with a group of people. But
Yeah, COVID's,
it kind of seemed like they were kind of weaning off of it a little bit, even pre-COVID.
yeah, I mean, it seemed like right leading into this was a strange time because things were sort of disrupting and shaking up again, and you
Mm-hmm.
had, you know, I mean, it's been a little while since like Collider Video stopped doing what they
Mm-hmm.
did, and then yeah, COVID hit, and I think, yeah, I don't know. I gotta believe that at some point those shows will, at least in some way, shape, or form, make a return. I mean, they still do the honest
Mm-hmm.
trailers and stuff like that, which
Right.
is its own, you know, thing. But it's interesting, yeah, because it seemed like Screen Junkies, Collider, like a lot of the established groups just
Mm-hmm.
before all this, you know, pandemic stuff descended, were all kind of in a, you know, state of fluctuation,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I don't know. It seems like a lot of, at least from the outside, I don't really have a lot of like inside intel on the Screen Junkies crew at the moment. But you know, it's like Dan
Right.
has moved across the country, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like the crew, the fandom Screen Junkies crew isn't posting as much, and so I don't know. I don't know if they're just
Right.
like maybe taking some time to
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate, or if sort of it's like SEN seems to
Mm-hmm.
seems to have a very well established niche in their sort of Zoom live streams now.
Right.
Even if that's a bit different from the across the table type format, but they seem to do fine.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and also, I think you have the big sort of melting pot of the Schmodown still
Mm-hmm.
percolating, and I think
Yeah, that's definitely like kind of the movie fights now, I feel like.
yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's become one of the catch-alls for that's the way station where a lot of these personalities
Mm-hmm.
intermingle, although not markedly, not as much the core Screen Junkies team. I mean, you get Lon, I
Right.
think, a lot in
Mm-hmm.
Schmodown, but yeah, I mean, it's different times, and I feel like different people have somewhat arisen in them, and also certain
Mm-hmm.
groups. I don't know. It's weird to see because it's you got Screen Junkies kind of on the lay low, and then you've got like Andy
Mm-hmm.
Signor, Popcorn Planet, like
Yeah.
sounding off a lot. Like it's an
Mm-hmm.
odd time in every respect, but yeah, especially in this little movie sphere. I hadn't thought about it as much just because
Mm-hmm.
you know we're hustling so much.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting though. It's interesting to
Mm-hmm.
see. And I hope they'll at least do movie fights
Actually,
again because it does fill a
yeah.
void. Like obviously we've done
Mm-hmm.
a lot with Schmodown and it's a lot of fun, but it's a different game. It's a totally different vibe, and I think
Right.
there's a lot to be said for the format that movie fights is, where it is drawing on different
Mm-hmm.
aspects of debate and also
Right.
film language, film
Mm-hmm.
creativity and stuff like that. So
I always like the debate aspect. Um,
yeah,
I was never on like a debate team or anything in school, but I don't know. I always kind of like the idea of arguing about things, especially like
in a
movies.
controlled environment. Yeah, I
Right.
did mock trial for a hot minute in high school, and
Mhm.
it was stressful, but it was a rush, and I never got to do a movie fight fully, but
Mhm.
I did get to, like every time Greg had one, inevitably, he would be bouncing stuff off of me, or yeah, it's sort
Right.
of like, so I got to at least, and part of the
Mhm.
fun of that, of being the fly on the wall for that is eventually, it's one of the few situations where someone will come up to you and be like, okay, I figured out my points. Now I need you to like poke holes in them as best you can. Just to, like
Mhm.
test me. Uh,
It's kind of fun.
yeah. So even though I you know d- didn't get to go on while it was still going in the before times, I feel like I still got to
Mhm.
touch the experience a little bit in a way that I had fun with. So
Right. And you've been on Schmodown and all that, so you've definitely
yeah,
gotten to be in that kind of realm, I guess.
yeah.
So, um, I was actually, I actually reached out to Andy Signor
Oh really?
a couple days ago. I'm thinking of maybe getting him on the podcast. Actually,
Ooh,
um, yeah,
get it.
I don't know. And I might not actually keep this in the podcast, but like, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it.
I mean, it depends on. I guess it depends on why you want to do it. I mean, I think that
Mhm.
there is something to be said for, like, I don't know how you feel about him or his various
Right.
you know recent
Allegations.
allegations,
Yeah.
just his own way of addressing things. Like
Hmm.
I haven't seen a ton of his Popcorn Planet stuff, but it's like
Right.
lately I've seen him pop up more because you
Hmm.
know yeah, there's been like
Yeah.
conflicts between people and
Hmm.
in that space, but I don't know. I mean,
That'd be even more kind of not risky, but just like I don't know, kind of a little dramatic, just because I had Hal Rudnick on like really early on in my podcast.
hi.
Um, so yeah, we kind of like touched on that a little bit, but like didn't really like stay on it for too long.
I mean,
But
I think it
yeah.
depends. If you bring on somebody who has any kind of controversy attached to them, inevitably you open yourself up to some level that of that just being an automatic turnoff to certain people. But I think it just depends on
Hmm.
how you. I mean, as long as you go in with the best of your own
Right.
intent, I don't think it's bad to necessarily talk to somebody who has a contentious place in the public eye or whatever,
Hmm.
depending on what you want to ask them about and why you care to
Right.
hear their opinion about it or whatever. So,
Yeah, with him, it would definitely be less of just like what happened at Screen Junkies. I'm sure we would probably touch on it, but it would definitely just more be about movies and stuff like that. And I tend to not try to make my any of my content like dramatic or anything like that, and try to stir anything up. But
yeah.
it was just one of those things I kind of had to think about because I would like to have him on because I do remember him hosting movie fights and all that for years. Um, and even with the allegations, it's just like at the same time, it was never really proven in court or anything. And like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. I mean, I have at least one somewhat personal tie to that situation, so it wouldn't be
Hmm.
entirely fair of me to like super influence you.
Right.
And yeah, I mean it's like ultimately I don't know. I've got at least one person who's close, who I trust, who you
Hmm.
know I'm not 100% like, yeah, Andy
Right.
Signor, I
It's hard to say, especially if you don't know the person like actually personally, especially with like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. It's just like no, barely anybody really knows these people personally, so it's like it's hard to tell sometimes if things are as bad as people say they are, or if it's all just kind of,
yeah, I mean ultimately
as Joe Biden would say, malarkey.
yeah, it's like it is truly difficult, and yeah, especially
Mm,
because even I don't know, I think at a certain point it all comes down to proximities, and it's like
mm,
nobody there's no yeah, it's tough. It's like yeah,
yeah.
it's Andy Signor,
Mm,
like personally for me, isn't somebody who I regard well because of that.
mm,
So like if it was my podcast, like I just wouldn't invite him on. Uh, but
right.
it's I am not necessarily the kind who would like look and see
Mm.
that you had him on and be like, ah man, fuck Spencer now. Like
Yeah, it's like one of those things like seeing Alex Jones on Joe Rogan. It's just like you can't just like fully deep platform these people. Like,
well, and I
ah,
feel like in a scenario like that, and in a format like this,
mm,
where yeah, you have frequent guests on, and part of the point is to hear differing opinions, and as long as
mm,
I guess the point isn't to cover up or ignore,
right. Yeah.
whatever might be difficult. uh,
Mm,
yeah, part of the thing is, yeah, it's like one of my favorite, and I guess not that they're the same at all, but like I was
mhm.
really engaged by a Russell Brand podcast with Candace
Okay.
Owens, who like
Okay.
Candace Owens is somebody who I don't agree with on a lot of stuff, but that was like a
The name is familiar. I'm not really
she's a political
sure.
commentator.
Okay.
I don't really it would be hard for me to qualify you beyond that because I
Right.
usually hear about her when she's embroiled in some kind of public controversy. So it's like she's feuding with Cardi B, or I
Hmm.
mean she has a lot of controversial and very conservative opinions, I guess, or
Hmm.
viewpoints, which tend to get
Right.
people riled up, either passionately in favor of or vehemently against.
Hmm.
But like her conversation with him, like they do represent very different sensibilities, and that was an
Right.
example of like I wouldn't listen to Candace Owens normally
Hmm.
on my own just for fun, but in this environment, and yeah,
Yeah.
because part of the point is oh yeah, these two people aren't just of the same opinion and of the same
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on.
I hate to go back to Joe Rogan, but like Kanye West was just on there too. It's like probably wouldn't have listened to most things with Kanye West talking, but like since it was Joe Rogan, I kind of had to.
Yeah,
It's just like,
and it
yeah,
depends. I mean, there's that too. Is like there are certain people I
hmm
think that you will check out. Certain shows you invest in
hmm
the host, and you're like, yeah, I'll watch this person talk to anybody. And then certain shows, it's like,
right,
okay, that particular guest, or yeah, it's the power of like, I wouldn't normally
hmm
listen to this person, but because they're here, and then that can be an interesting
hmm
gateway into dynamics and stuff like that.
yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, it's like in my experience talking to you, it seems like we touch on movies, but we also touch on some light
hmm
stuff too. And I mean,
yeah,
like last week we talked about the election, and we've talked a little bit about
hmm
relevant stuff since then. So I don't
right,
know. I mean, if that's in the overall tapestry and that,
hmm
then I could see some kind of value in that. I guess the thing about a Joe Rogan is that eventually, he's going to probe Alex Jones a little bit or probe
true,
Kanye. So there is that aspect of engagement with
hmm
the elephant in the room, I guess, and that's up
right,
to you
hmm
as to whether I don't
hmm
know. This is it's an yeah, it's an interesting whether
yeah.
whether or not you keep this. It's interesting to think about.
I think I might just because might as well.
Sure.
I don't think we've either of us have said anything that's like offensive to anybody
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean,
or would hurt anybody's
yeah, I mean,
feelings.
if this is on record, yeah, I mean, like personally,
Mm-hmm.
I have some close friends who are directly involved with the
Mm-hmm.
situation, and so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, I'm not, yeah, I'm with
Right.
them basically, so I am not a
Yeah.
not a fan, and I don't seek to support.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
Mm-hmm.
I don't seek to support Andy Senor or elevate him in any way. But
Right.
but I'm not doing, I'm not the host of your show. um,
Yeah. With me, it's kind of one of those things. It's just like I grew up watching him on there. I would like to kind of hear what he has to say, but at the same time, it's not like, oh yeah, I believe him. I think he's 100% innocent of everything, because I don't even think he said he's 100% innocent of everything. So
no, and I mean,
yeah.
I these things are so painful,
Mm-hmm.
partly because there's so much, there's so much there, and
Right.
there's so much more than
Mm-hmm.
we can all see, and that's
Yeah.
for so many reasons. Because I mean, it's it's really hard to get
Mm-hmm.
everybody the full picture in a way that's not just terrible for
Yeah.
everyone involved. So like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it,
It's hard to get everybody on the same page. Like, even just looking at like a thumbnail of a video, it's like, oh, I know just by like who's in this video, I'm not gonna like it, so I'm not gonna click it. It's just like, I don't know, give them a chance.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like YouTube, especially, is a
Mm-hmm.
democratic platform
Oh
insofar
yeah.
as, I mean, yeah, I guess, sure. I mean, like the situation has been
Mm-hmm.
out in the open, and he can
Oh yeah.
have a channel. So, like, if enough
Mm-hmm.
people choose to watch it, that he has, I mean, like,
Right.
it's literally just there you go. The viewers are choosing.
It's public information now. I mean, he made like a whole video about it, talking about it and all that.
Well, not even so much the factual side, but just like,
Right.
I mean, he's clearly doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a show and a
Yeah.
platform again that he's been able to build on
Mm-hmm.
his own. So I assume that enough people, yeah, are open to
Right.
that, you know.
Yeah. I'm obviously hesitant, but like at the same time, I I'm not like not the kind of person where it's like I'm not going to talk to this person because of this and this and this. It's just like I'll talk to anybody, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, uh, mhm.
there's something interesting in every interaction, I think. And I mean,
Right.
you might find out some interesting insight, and
Hmm.
I think there's also too, not not every host is necessarily like endorsing the person they're interviewing,
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
part of an
Right.
interview is question and answer. It's like, it's what will
Hmm.
the answer be?
Exactly. Yep. I don't know. It'll be interesting if it does work
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I have a feeling it's not that far out of the realm of possibility, but yeah, it'll definitely be interesting, and I'll definitely end up asking about a lot of the drama, even though like I really kind of hate drama,
Yeah.
but like it almost feels a little necessary, especially coming from like my standpoint. It's like I'm still kind of an early podcast,
Mm-hmm.
so it would be nice if like kind of just had that explanation or something up front. Not like explanation, but just like kind of address it at least. Um,
Yeah.
Rather than just like completely ignoring it, because I think that's just making it
I
worse.
think that is a good instinct. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
open yourself up to the possibility of the other person's reaction, obviously, to a touchy subject.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if it was me and I was going to have a guest on with such a
Mm-hmm.
controversy attached to them, yeah, I mean, I would
Oh
feel
yeah.
a certain obligation to engage with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
And it's not even just like the side of me that wants to like, oh, I want to know everything, not the kind of like reporters in a way, just like not really knowing the boundaries and stuff like that.
mm,
Like you literally just witnessed somebody get murdered in front of you, and you have a reporter in your face asking you a bunch of questions.
yeah, yeah.
I kind of, in a way, I kind of despise um, certain reporters for that. That's why I hated um, um, Gail Weathers in the first Scream movie. I was just like, oh, she's such a
Oh,
bitch.
you
I
must
hate
have
her.
loved Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler's a great movie,
Nightcrawler,
actually.
yeah.
I that's a really good movie. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, kind of just got to make a judgment call, and um,
Well, and either way, if you're open
yeah,
to the idea that, I mean, it
mm-hmm.
might be a very smooth experience, and if in
Right,
fact it isn't for some reason, as
mm-hmm.
long as you're prepared for the idea that, I mean, like, those things happen sometimes, and they're always learning
Right,
experiences, and
mm-hmm.
you can grow through that stuff and sometimes find that
Right,
that becomes a significant part of your journey. So not to say that
mm-hmm.
that'll absolutely happen, but especially if you're open to that kind of real life fluid part of the process, I think
Oh
that
yeah.
can be a good foundation to come from.
Mm-hmm. One last question, and then we will wrap this up here. Um, what are some movies that were pushed back that were supposed to come out this year that you were really looking forward to and kind of bummed by not being able to see sooner, I guess.
I am most bummed, I think, that Spiral got pushed
Hmm.
indefinitely back.
Interesting that
Chris Rock Saw movie.
saw
Hell yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Anybody?
Yeah, I saw a trailer for it, but like didn't I haven't really watched a whole lot of the Saw movies, so like I don't have a deep connection to it or
Yes,
anything,
that's
but
my
it caught my
that's my
interest.
franchise. Like it's like Saw
Hmm.
came around at such a time where like I caught a lot of the classic slasher franchise picks later
Hmm.
on, uh after a lot of people saw them. Like I feel like a lot of people see those like when
Hmm.
they're growing up and they're like, not supposed to. It's like, you're like 12
Right.
and you're watching Friday the 13th, whatever. I didn't get those till later, but I did in my early teens get into Saw, and ever since have,
Hmm.
had a soft spot in my heart for better or for worse. And I also love a kooky combination, and I love, you know, interesting chances and stuff like that. So yeah, Chris
Hmm.
Rock saw, like, just the fact that he stepped up and was like, I got an
Yeah.
idea. I want to make a Saw movie.
Good for
And
him, dude. Seriously, like break the
yeah,
mold.
yeah, and they
Like
got,
he's always been the comedy actor, so anything to break the mold, I
yeah, and I mean
respect it.
he's clearly doing, he's stretching his legs out
Hmm.
now, but like the fact that he
He was in the newest season of Fargo I saw, which I haven't watched any of that,
I,
but I saw
I've
he was
caught
in it.
clips, and I mean, I'm definitely compelled.
Hmm.
I mean, I've seen the first
Right.
season of Fargo, and I really enjoyed just the general
Hmm.
vibe Noah Hawley drew for that. So I would love to get deeper, and because it's anthology, I
Mhm.
guess you can just pick and choose which seasons you want to watch. So yeah, I'll probably
Mhm.
try and check out the Chris Rock there. Um,
Yeah. Fargo was originally a movie, right?
yeah, yeah, that's like a
Okay,
classic
I'll have to
Coen
watch
Brothers
that. That's
movie.
on my list. Oh, Coen
Oh
Brothers. Okay,
yeah,
hell yeah, I love the Coen
yeah,
Brothers.
there you go.
They
That
made what's it called? Oh, brother,
Yep,
we're out there, all
yeah,
right.
oh brother.
Such a good movie. I watched that recently, and oh my god, it's such
Yeah,
a
that
good
is a
movie.
that's a special magical sort of movie of
Hmm.
theirs. Like that one really occupies a magic space between comedy and
Hmm.
drama because there I think you can draw certain boundaries pretty succinctly between some of their dramas, some of their
Right.
comedies. But Oh Brother
Hmm.
Man is
Big
right in the
Lebowski.
middle. Like it's like
Hmm.
strange and whimsical, but also affecting and wrenching at times. Like that's a great movie. But Fargo,
Yeah.
man, like that's
Um.
yeah, definitely Coen Brothers to check out.
Yeah, I didn't know they
Yeah,
made that. I'm definitely gonna have to watch it now that I know
yeah,
it's
man,
them.
and it's got a great
But
cast too. Yeah,
nice, nice. Um, what was the other movie? Oh yeah,
Big
Big
Lebowski.
Lebowski. That's a classic. I love that movie.
Yeah,
That's a
man,
great movie.
you gotta love the dude and all those nihilists.
Yeah, one of my friends actually dressed up as the dude for Halloween once at school. It was the funniest thing
What
ever.
level of school? What grade?
It was high school.
All right.
I think like maybe junior or what comes or no sophomore or junior year
Damn, that's not
probably.
bad. I don't know if I would have seen a. Thinking back to my own high school days, I don't
Hmm.
know if I would have seen uh what am I saying? The
Hmm.
dude. I don't know if I would have seen a Big
Right.
Lebowski. Like we had a
Hmm.
film studies
He
class,
definitely grew up with those
but
kinds of movies.
I mean, I had yeah. I mean, I grew up in a house
Hmm.
where I watched those kinds of movies, but for some reason, the Big
Hmm.
Lebowski specifically, I watched. It was another movie I saw later on, like when I was in my late teens. I think was the first time I watched it at
Hmm.
like 3 in the morning on Christmas Eve. I was like in my garage, just like wrapping presents in the wee hours in the morning, and I already liked White Russians before I saw that movie, but I made myself one anyway, and I watched it.
I don't know why, but like when you're just watching movies when you definitely should be like asleep
Mm, yeah,
and it's just like 3 in the morning, it's almost like one of the best experiences.
yeah.
It's just like watching something stupid and having
I
fun.
found that really cozy. Yeah, when you're watching something,
Yeah.
either it's got something to do with those very early hours because I've also experienced it upon
Hmm.
like sometimes in the budgeting of time you're like, oh damn, I gotta watch a movie for a review or
Right.
whatever, but I'm really
Hmm.
tired and it comes out late, and so like sometimes you'll be like, yeah, I'll watch it in the morning, and I've actually found that like early in the morning watching the right movie, yeah, it's like a wonderful way to start the day. Yeah, it
Huh.
can.
Maybe I'll have to do that more often. Usually when I wake up, I'm just like, all right, let me stare at my phone for like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, like it creates a different ambience and it creates maybe a slightly less
Hmm.
fragmented. I mean, it depends on what movie you choose, but especially if it's
Right.
something that's not too long and not too heavy. I feel like,
I'm gonna start my day off with
yeah,
Inception.
exactly. I don't know, like don't send yourself, yeah, through something that you're gonna have
Right.
to like intellectually keep a lot of track of,
Hmm.
necessarily. But yeah, something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what a good example of a movie I would have. I watched Bill and Ted 3 in the morning at one point, and that was like a perfect morning
That was
movie.
pretty good. I don't know how I felt about that one compared to the other two. I still liked it, but I think I just like the original a
That's
little bit
fair. I
more.
mean, each one, the third one still has to go through the process of aging that the other two have
Hmm.
very much had the benefit of. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, it's definitely not as seamless in its production values as the first two, and I think that
Mm.
is a notable difference. But I think yeah, it's
Right.
like I could totally understand that. I mean, I probably wouldn't say it's my favorite of the trilogy, but it's
Mhm.
still, I think, like a very appropriate part of the trilogy. Yeah, it's like I
Right.
thought.
It definitely wasn't bad. I still enjoyed it. I still had fun
Yeah,
watching it. But as compared to the originals, it's just like, ah, man, those are so
yeah, yeah.
classic. And I haven't even watched those. Like, I watched those recently too. So, like, before three came out, like, just before. So,
Okay,
it wasn't that long ago when I watched it.
interesting.
So, but yeah, they were great movies. I like those kinds of movies where it's just like, they're not specifically called stoners at all, but you can definitely tell it's like a
Oh yeah.
stoner movie.
Oh, that's like a
But
film
yeah, I had
festival
fun
of its
watching those.
own. Like stoner
Oh yeah,
movies that are
definitely.
not overtly stoner movies. Stoner movies that
Hmm. Man, so many good
yeah, oh
ones.
god, I was just watching, I can't remember now. It was like a YMS video or something where they brought up like a perfect example of a movie like that. Where it's like
Hmm,
it was for kids and so like the stoner elements, maybe it was even a
interesting.
SpongeBob breakdown or something, I don't know. Because there are
I could
definitely
see that.
stoner elements to SpongeBob, you could argue.
Hmm. Oh
Um,
yeah, I grew up with SpongeBob. I watched that
oh,
like
dude,
every
yeah, like
day.
SpongeBob was huge. Like when SpongeBob came out, I remember
Hmm.
that was a time where, as a kid, like I was aware that it was coming. I was prepared the day it
Right.
dropped, and then I was dedicated from there on out. And it also helps that I mean, SpongeBob, I think, was pretty inspired.
Hmm.
But yeah, SpongeBob
Oh
was
yeah.
huge in my life.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Always
That was one of my favorite
ride
shows
or
growing
die
up.
for the Bob.
I always felt bad for the kids that were like, my parents won't let me watch that.
Aw,
Like, why?
I guess because of the energy level of it, but like,
maybe maybe it was some of the humor too that like just kind of flew over kids'
what the
heads, but
adults
like
get, yeah.
adults were like, "Oh, that's kind of
See, that's the thing
dirty."
is like for me that was The Simpsons, and so it registers on first glance as kind of funny or to me that
Right.
SpongeBob would conjure that up, but then again, it's also a mark of a
Hmm.
shifting sensibility.
It's funny. I really never watched Simpsons when I was younger because it wasn't really that I wasn't allowed to. It's just I wasn't really into it, I guess. But yeah, looking back on it now, I'm just like, my mom used to say this was like so inappropriate. It's really not
Yeah,
that bad.
it's weird, and also, I mean, I think there is a certain quality to when you're younger, like the same way, like when you're
Hmm.
younger than eighth graders look like they're like in their 20s, and then when you get into high school, eighth graders look like kids. I feel like there's a similar thing
Right.
with content in a way where you can look
Hmm.
when you're younger and you can kind of tell how people are responding to the content around you. You can kind of gather like, oh, I don't
Hmm.
know, man, maybe this is a little bit risky. And then yeah, there's something about like you gather more experiences and you see more stuff and you realize
Hmm.
that not everything you're being shielded from is as
Right.
necessitating of that shielding as it appears. Like then
Hmm.
you start to realize like, oh, it's kind of funny that I wasn't allowed to watch this. Because it's not.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really
not.
not that bad compared to like Family Guy or South Park. Like those
Well,
shows
and
are
also,
much worse. But I gotta say, I like Family Guy
hey,
better.
I mean,
Just saying.
than the Simpsons or than South Park or both. I mean,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think there's that element too, and I mean, Family Guy, straddles the line, I think, between The Simpsons and South Park in the sense that I feel
Hmm.
like what usually is at the root of not being able to watch a show like that or allowed to by a parent is that
Hmm.
it's the stuff on the surface. Because like Simpsons episodes, especially, I think, as compared to Family Guy and then as compared to South Park. Like they all three have levels of heart in
Hmm.
every episode. But like I've watched a
True.
lot of Simpsons episodes and been like, man, this has a lot of heart. It's pretty funny.
Hmm.
It's not overly
Yeah.
offensive really. Like it's got some relevant wit.
It's only
And
slightly
I mean there
racist.
are not that it's
Only slightly.
unproblematic by any stretch of the imagination, certainly. but and then
Yeah.
Family Guy is a little bit more like, okay, we're gonna go a
Mhm.
little bit further down that rabbit hole of like,
Yeah.
we kind of want to upset the people who are, you know,
Right. That stuff kind of makes me laugh. As bad as I feel about laughing at just like
yeah.
really dark humor, it makes me laugh really hard. I have a very dark sense of
Hey, I mean,
humor.
there are many things to be said for dark humor. I mean, there's a lot of
True.
it's interesting, and I mean, even
Tom Segura is a pretty good one for dark
ooh,
humor. I don't know if you listen to him much
I've
or
definitely
anything, but I'm a huge stand-up
I
fan.
love good stand up, yeah, and I definitely know
Mhm.
of Tom Segura. I've seen a few of his bits. I haven't watched a
Mhm.
full special, and so maybe I'll do that tonight.
Right.
Because I do like a good dark
I
or like a good like
mhm.
comedy that also gets real in a way you weren't expecting or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I love Bo Burnham for that reason. Like it'll be whimsical, it'll be absurd, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh God, my heart. Um, different
Mhm.
style, but
Yeah, I also like Bill Burr. Bill Burr is a big one for me that I just recently started liking his
oh yeah,
comedy a little bit
ever
more.
since that one
Um,
Mandalorian
I always
episode.
liked his. Oh, he's
Yeah,
so
man,
great in that.
he might be back. He might
Um,
come back. You never know.
oh, I hope so. He better. He's. I think it's hard to be not to be biased, but I think that might be my favorite episode of Mandalorian, just in general. Pretty sure that was a
Hell
great
yeah.
episode.
I mean, it's like its own
Um,
little sidebar, and
mhm.
it's sort of perfect in that way. I feel like in ways because it's sort of isolated off on this side mission, even though there are a lot of side missions,
Right.
but I guess because of like the sort of bottle quality of the episode,
Mhm.
I could definitely see that being a highlight.
Mando going all
Yeah,
John
well,
Wick,
and I mean
except
you
not
yeah,
rated
I
R.
mean Disney.
He spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't seen it.
Eh,
He spares them.
yeah,
So
gotta still
yeah,
be
I
the good
mean,
guy.
true. And also, he was probably like, "Ooh," Mando's just thinking these characters might be
Yeah,
cool
man.
later
Plus, you
on.
got to maintain the SpongeBob connection. You got Clancy Brown in there. You got Mr. Krabs.
Oh
Yeah, you
yeah, I
got
forgot
Mr.
about
Krabs
that.
back in red.
Man, that was a fun episode though. I had a lot
Yeah,
of fun with that one.
yeah,
Definitely. That was kind of like a
yeah.
heist
Totally. Well,
almost.
and I think Star Wars again. One of the charms is as much as there is the sort of intergalactic space opera, family drama
Hmm.
saga. It's heavy. There's also like enough whimsy and scope that you can have like
Hmm.
a kooky bunch of criminals played by character actors and comedians, and it works. You know,
Yeah,
this
it
guy's
worked. It really did. I think Bill Burr's a great actor too,
yeah,
from what I've
man.
seen him in.
Seen him in Breaking Bad.
Um, King of Staten Island was good. I don't know how you felt about that,
Oh,
or if
I
you saw
still
that
need
at
to
all.
watch it. They
But
sent us a copy.
I
they sent
enjoyed
us a
it.
copy. Yeah, I've heard good things.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about Pete Davidson. I know Greg Greg has kind of said that he doesn't care for Pete Davidson too much, but I actually really like
I'm
that
fine
guy,
with
to be
Pete
honest.
Davidson. I mean, like he's he's certainly not like my favorite SNL cast member ever, but
Hmm.
he's one of
Oh
those
yeah.
guys where when he shows up in a sketch, it could go easily either way for me. I could
Hmm.
totally see him cracking me up. I could see him not
Oh
cracking
yeah.
me up. And actually, uh, I have seen him do stand up once, and that was a pretty fun experience.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a
Live.
surprise too. Even I
Nice.
went to see. It was the one
Wow.
time I was ever in New York, in fact, and I my friend was performing that night, and that's why I was
Hmm.
there. Was to see her perform, and
Nice.
then the rest of the show. Janine Garofalo was the headliner. But
Right.
Pete Davidson, just dropped in and surprised, like worked out some material because it was the earlier show of the night. So, yeah, like
Huh, that's pretty cool.
I neither love nor hate. So like King of Staten Island, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll
Mhm.
watch that.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that movie. A lot of people just kind of harp on the fact that he's kind of like the stoner character in every movie and
I
like
could
every
I
show
could
and all that,
at a
but
glance I
I
very
don't know.
understand, I
Yeah.
guess, what people don't like, because in a
Hmm.
way he does always come across like just like an enlarged version of somebody's kid brother who's just kind of goofing, you know. And you're like, I
Pretty
know the
much.
thing is, like, I know that at some point this guy's gonna like sneak in a
Mhm.
zinger that was more clever than I expected, or else like charm me with
Yeah.
that like shit-eating grin. It's yeah.
Hmm. I'm excited to see him in Suicide Squad too. I hope he isn't one of the characters that's immediately killed off.
Yeah, I mean, at least
It's
very
possible
possible,
though.
I feel like, for him. Although I would hope
Yeah.
that also, because like, especially in a
Yeah.
situation like that, I always feel like that's an opportunity for somebody like that to especially charm me. So I'm always like,
Hmm.
yeah, like I can't wait to see what he brings. Because also too, just knowing what I do know about him, it seems like a role he would approach with some gusto. So so
Yeah,
yeah.
he's definitely a funny guy. I've watched like I think he had a stand up special on Netflix or something like that. I watched that was pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I've seen him on SNL and stuff like that, and I've loved him on SNL. I'm not a huge SNL fan, but I've actually been going back and watching quite a bit lately.
Oh,
I went and watched like one of the really
in
old
like the
episodes. I think like the first
what was that, the
episode
late 70s?
with like Andy Kaufman in it and all that, like doing his what do you call it? Something like that. He was doing his the Mighty Mouse theme. I don't know
I
if
have
you've
not. That's another one.
seen that Jim
That's
Carrey
another
movie.
one.
Probably the Man on the Moon.
I
That was
Yeah, that's that.
that's a
Yeah,
really
that's
good
another one to
movie.
add directly to
Definitely got to
my
check that one out.
list.
You'll also mhm. You also have to check out Jim
Oh,
and
I
Andy
bet.
on
Like,
Netflix, the documentary about it, because that was actually really good too. Kind of how
yeah,
he went into
I
the
would be very
what do you
curious to
call it,
see that. I
method
got to see
acting and all
Tony
that.
Clifton once at the Comedy Store, not Jim Carrey as Tony Clifton. No, yeah, I got to see
Are
Tony
you
Clifton.
shitting me?
Not Jim Carrey as Tony
Oh my
Clifton, but Tony
god! Are you?
Clifton.
Wait, you're
Yeah,
kidding,
but
right?
yeah, I got to see a Tony Clifton show.
What?
Yeah, and
Right.
I can't remember which. I think it was the
Wow.
guy who's like Andy's manager or whatever,
That is
like one of
blowing
the
my
main
mind.
guys who does Tony Clifton, and it was a trip. That show was
uh
insane. Like,
hmm. Wow. That sounds insane. Wait, so the Comedy
I've been there a
Store,
couple
like,
times. Yeah,
have you been
not.
there more than once
It's
or just
probably
the
not the
one
place
time?
I've seen like the most. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's
I've heard so
I've
much
had a
about it.
couple friends over time who have done the
Right.
stand up circuit, and yeah, I've had a couple friends who would frequent the Comedy Store.
Mhm.
I haven't ever been to the Laugh Factory, but I've been to the Comedy Store a few times,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean that particular show, and we got good seats for that too.
Mhm.
It was in the same room, in fact, that I think we did the Schmodown Awards in.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's this kind of like tiered little banquet
Oh,
hall
that's fucking
thing with
cool.
the stage. And yeah, he reprised Rhinestone Cowboy like 12 or 13 times.
Mhm.
That was at least the number I counted to. It could have been more.
That's great. That's yeah. Comedy Store is definitely one of those places. Like I have to check that out eventually. I heard it's I heard a lot of really crazy
There are a lot of
stories.
ghost
Just like
stories around
I
these
also
old,
heard that it's
yeah,
like
these
mostly
landmarks and
haunted
stuff like that. There's a
from
lot
what
of
I hear.
history.
Yeah, because yeah, I hear Joe Rogan say all the time. He's like Bugsy Malone used to
Yeah,
own
there's.
that
I wouldn't be
place, and he
surprised
would
at
like kill
all.
people
Like
in the
a
basement or
lot of
something
these
like that.
places, or like old movie theaters will have like, oh yeah, this person
Yeah.
murdered their lover here, and
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just really
there's
dark.
yeah,
A lot of
there's a
Hollywood
fair amount
history
of
seems
very
really dark,
grim and very
actually.
macabre Hollywood history for sure. And
Hmm.
no,
Did you
I,
Did you watch that show
That's what
Hollywood
I've
on
heard.
Netflix
It's
that
been
came out?
recommended to me a
Ryan
couple
Murphy.
times,
That was
and
actually
more
really good.
so than some other Ryan Murphy
Hmm.
joints of late. So it is one I would like to check out, and it's a musical, right?
Right.
Is it? No, there's no musical element.
Yeah.
Are they making a musical? I saw a promo once.
No. I think there's no. Which
They're on,
thank
but
God.
it's
Um, they could be. I think Ryan Murphy might be making a musical. I mean, he
maybe
obviously
that's
did
why, but it's
Glee,
like old
so it wouldn't be
Hollywood
that
big
far out
film
of
production, right?
the
Yeah.
his realm, I guess. Hmm. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of like I think it was in 1940s, and it was kind of just like the idea of it was if Hollywood was a little more accepting of like diversity at that time. And yeah, it was so good. So many great actors in that too. So yeah, I would definitely check that out at some point. Um, but yeah, I need to go back and watch that again.
Eh.
That would, it's a shame with shows like that
Well,
it's only
as
limited
time
series, but
wears on, I think
I
that
kind of
actually
understand it
makes
too.
certain shows more, I don't know, within reach, because the more shows there become and the longer they go, I feel like you probably wouldn't start a certain amount of shows just because of
Mhm.
knowing that there's so much of them. Whereas I feel like nowadays, with more limited series, you could get more viewing in at the very
True.
least. But it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, I feel
Hmm.
like almost any limited series to a degree has an option to expand. Unless it's something that's so contained to one specific small story or whatever, like,
Hmm.
you know,
Right.
Chernobyl, I don't think you need 5 seasons of, you know. That was a great show. Yeah, yeah. That was very, very affecting filmmaking.
That was a good show. Yeah. Yeah, I love that a lot. And just that whole Chernobyl story too. Like I actually kind of want to go there someday
Go in some kind
before
of
it's,
leaden suit
populated
and
again.
poke around.
But yeah, it's creepy. I've watched so many videos on it, and the whole urban exploring thing is kind of like it
Uh,
interests me, but I haven't like done it a whole lot. I've been to like a couple abandoned places, but like
you can always
nothing
push
nothing
yourself to the
too
next level. There's
fancy or
always
like
more buildings
exciting.
now. I've
Just
had
like
a couple of friends.
right. Yeah, I find that stuff fun.
Part of me,
I like I
yeah,
like
part of
freaking
me,
myself out of over
I've never
nothing
done it.
literally.
No, that's not true. Actually, not just to explore, I guess, but I have definitely done a little bit of urban exploring for like short films and things.
Hmm.
Like especially in high school, I had one friend who
Hmm.
was definitely ambitious with the stuff he would shoot.
Nice.
So like he
Hmm.
would have us like in the middle of the night going up to some like like deep into some hiking trail, and then like at one point there was like an old cafe that was kind of vacant at this junction, and so we would just kind of sneak into this like old,
That's
it looked like a
badass.
place out of Twin Peaks or something. It's just kind of like an open lower cafe area, and then upstairs there were just these
Wow.
little rooms, and we would shoot all sorts of stuff, and it was like great production value. And then in hindsight I was like, oh yeah, I guess we were breaking and entering. And I mean, not that anybody was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the bad part about it, but at the same time, it's still fun. You
Yeah,
get
as
some
long as
great
you're not
shots too
destroying
if you're
anything, I feel like
doing
it's like get out of
photography
here.
or making a
It's
video,
probably the
which I
worst, unless you encounter like
right,
somebody in there who doesn't want you there and isn't like
yeah,
just a guard or something. If someone's on bath salts and just
hmm,
eat your face.
yeah. Every time I've been to a yeah,
Mm.
the times I've been to abandoned
Other
places, like
explorers have
people
been
have
here
definitely been
before.
there, but weren't there
Do
when we
you
were
like
there.
leave a mark to
But
just to like
yeah, it's kind of fun.
leave a piece of your
Hmm.
experience behind?
Occasionally, I think I left my initials on like a bookshelf once, but then that house was just like demolished, so that's gone. Yeah, the only two abandoned places near me are gone now, so that kind of sucks.
Hey man, that's
But
part of the allure of
they were
urban
probably a little
exploring.
dangerous to be. hanging out
is
in.
if it doesn't look like something out of The Grudge that you shouldn't be going into in the first
True.
place, you're not urban exploring.
True. Exactly.
Oh yeah, I hope you don't
Um.
have
So yeah, I'm gonna wrap
a
this up now,
shitload
just
to
since
edit.
it's been going on a little while.
Okay.
Oh no, you're good. I typically don't edit these too much, so. Um.
Yeah, we
But yeah,
are
go
at
ahead and
The
plug any
Real
of your social
Rejects on
media and
YouTube, or
whatever
not
you want.
at, but we're youtube.com/The Real Rejects. That's where you can see me and Greg do our thing 7 days a week, and then on social media, at The Real Rejects is our official stuff for Twitter and Facebook, at Real Rejects for Instagram, and then I am at DAT John Humphrey everywhere books are sold. So yeah, anytime.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for
I
coming
appreciate that.
on.
So are you? This was
Hope
good.
to
This was
have you
this
on
was
again sometime. You're
even
definitely
having to
fun
do
to
it
talk
again was
to.
no sweat. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah,
Right. Um,
yeah. Sounds
so
good,
yeah,
man.
that's it.
Take care. We'll talk
Again,
soon.
thanks for coming on and
Peace.
hope to